Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming over here. It's my pleasure to invite you for this session. My name is Bala Ramalingam. I lead the global solution strategy and the AI charter for the Oracle practice in Wipro. Overall 27 years of experience in the Oracle ERP space. And with me here is Simon James, who's the VP Finance IT for the DHL Supply Chain. It gives a pleasure to invite you for this session. Our journey with DHL started 5 years before in their SaaS transformation journey, which is a program called Reimagine Finance. Basically, starting from an implementation of Oracle SaaS, rolling it out to multiple countries. This includes rolling it out to more than 50 plus countries. And the next step, we started looking at implementing the embedded AI functionalities, which came in the Oracle SaaS. And as a journey towards the Agentic Studio, the AI Agent Studio, which Oracle has just launched, being a level 4 partner, we got an early adopter advantage, and DHL, they got an instance to work on the AI Agent Studio. And this is what we are going to talk about today. With this, I'll hand it over to Simon.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Bala. So let me just first give you a bit of background to what we're doing here, what the company is, all this kind of stuff, right? And then sort of talk you how we have been getting on with AI and what we've learned along the way. So DHL Supply Chain, this is the world's largest contract logistics operator. We have about 200,000 employees, about 17 billion euro turnover, operating in 50 countries, right? So this is all outsourced managed logistics, warehousing, transportation of goods around the world. That's basically what the business is here. Okay, go to the next one. So just very briefly, a bit of background on on what we've been doing and where we got to, right? So as Bella said, we've been on an Oracle cloud transformation journey for several years now, and really this was about getting to the next level of standardization, right? If we went back to 2020, we still had multiple systems in place, different versions of Oracle, some SAP, various different things, different operating models as well. So we would have country finance teams who are entering journals and doing things. And the reality is, if you let people, clever people, do their own thing, then they do that. And we ended up with lots of different versions of a process, even though they were supposed to be following a standard process, right? So this gave us another opportunity to basically take another cut through this, and in addition to the system changes, actually really standardize. So what we try to do is build regional accounting hubs, which together with our shared service center in Bangalore, they're now the only people who are entering any transactions in the system at all, right? Other than, okay, requisitions, expense claims, that stuff, right? So then we really can control that whole process. And that will then be important when it comes to AI about how we can then drive that adoption, all right? So this has all gone very well. We've been rolling out really deliberately, sort of, a set of countries, 8-10 countries at a time for several years now. We've now got 38 countries on this platform, very scaled, 2 other regions fully covered. And then the question is, where do we go from here? How do we then take advantage of that standardization, that single platform operating model, and then take that to the next level? So yeah, next slide, Ben. So last year, we thought, right, okay, it's time to get involved in the whole sort of Gen AI journey, right? And with some of Wipro's help, we then built out some AI, so chatbot technology, to solve a couple of specific problems. So the first one here, this finance assistant bot, the use case we were going after there was about trying to answer AP invoice status queries within the business. So at the moment, we had a process which went along the lines of, if you weren't an AP clerk, we didn't want to give you access to all that kind of complex information, all those complex screens. We wanted to give something simple, and previously you had to actually get that information, is the invoice paid, or when will it be paid, all this kind of stuff, via tickets. So 48 hours turnaround, somebody in the shared service center or multiple people in the shared center literally just answering those queries all the time, rubbish process, right? So we pulled all the data out of Oracle, put it into a data warehouse, ran some Gen AI solutions off the back of that, and now got a nice clean process where we have several hundred users in there now, where they are literally just answering their own questions, takes a ton of load off, immediate information, right? We also built another solution which was more about document management and answering questions on that. So we started here with status query, information about expense policies, processes, and this kind of stuff. So how do I set up a new expense user? Rather complicated in our situation. What is the policy for flights in a particular country? This kind of thing, right? Again, a much better process than we had before. Previously, it was all being answered via emails. You have to go back and find the document in a repository somewhere, and it's all very complicated. Nice, clean process where we can run that. So all good. If we just go to the next slide. So what do we learn from this, right? Firstly, we can do that. It works. It's all good. But it's not exactly quick, if I'm honest. Right? It's kind of expensive. I had to pull all the data out of ERP, put it in a Snowflake data warehouse. So there's integrations and all that kind of stuff we had to bother with. We then also had to rebuild a security model. So, okay, so I'm a user in Belgium. I should only be able to see Belgium invoices. Well, I had to then pull that data out of ERP and rebuild a security model there as well. The most important topic on this is the topic on context there. So I basically now have to teach the LLM everything, right? I have to explain what an invoice is, what is Oracle, what's a payment term, what's literally every piece of terminology, right? And that was a very iterative process. We took quite a bit of time working through that to get that working fully, right? And that essentially was where the expense came. And then, of course, yeah, it's a separate solution. So, it's on a server and blah, blah, blah. So there's some run costs there. So all possible, but it's not, if we go down that path, it's not going to be quick to scale that kind of stuff. And then Oracle came along, and in the last, 6 months or so, the whole game has changed, right? So if you go to the next one, that's then led us to sort of reevaluate that strategy a little bit, right? And basically, we're saying it's kind of Oracle first, right? If Oracle are going to the first point on this, if they're going to build me agents anyway, are going to try and adopt that stuff. So, for example, the ledger agent they've been talking about, there's some really good stuff in there. We've been working with them a little bit on that one, and I think that will be very, very helpful to help people close the books, get information fast, be looking more by exception rather than having to do it all themselves, right? That's a great example. There's plenty of others, the touchless expenses, the payments agent they announced as well. So plenty of things on there, and we're going to try, for certainly the ones where we see there is a cost or a processing advantage for us, we're going to try and get into that as soon as possible, okay? Because all we have to do there is adopt, right? Don't have to build anything, okay? And then the other thing is looking then at the Oracle AI Agent Studio and thinking, okay, well, where will Oracle play and where will they not play? And where then might we need to build some stuff on the side to fix some of our sort of more manual processes, okay? And that's really what we'll talk about today. Now, here is a learning slide. This comes with a slight health warning. I mean, this is moving on so fast. I mean, if any of you were in Chris Leone's session yesterday, I mean, he already covered some of these things. Some of these things are coming very, very soon. But anyway, let me talk through our current understanding as it stands today. It's, like I say, moving on very, very fast at the moment. I mean, look, this Agent Studio thing is quite an exciting tool, I have to say. We got very, very interested in this. So to start off with, we can interact with an agent via chat. Okay, so chat interface, ask it to do some stuff. It can then pull data from Oracle, all the standard APIs that are available, and it can go back and update, right? So, we can then make it do things, make updates to transactions or to master data based on that. It can also call external APIs. So the sort of things we're thinking about there are, if we have a ticketing process, right, something's going to the shared service center, maybe it's a ServiceNow ticket or something, we get that information come in, give it to the agent executes it, maybe under human supervision, and then goes back and updates ServiceNow, okay, and completes that ticket. So you could actually run that whole process, fully autonomously, right? And then of course, it's right within Oracle. There's no separate logins or any of that nonsense. It's right in there. I get deep links direct into the transactions, so you can get it to, let's say you've you've queried a requisition status and you want to go and look at that requisition, give you that link, and you can go straight to the page with that specific transaction. And it can also read documents as well. So the second use case that I mentioned before, the Ask DSC thing, where we were reading expense policies, I can now load documents into the vector store in Oracle, and it can answer those questions for me directly. So I don't actually, I mean, that will become superfluous, that solution, quite quickly. Right. And that's all good, but we've already found quite a lot of limitations. Now, the good news is these are getting closed pretty fast. I mean, 25D will be in our environments in I think about four weeks or something. So, you know, a lot of these will close by then already. I mean, the first thing is they're then turning this into a proper workflow tool. So rather than me having to open a chat interface with the bot, I can then go in and actually have it push stuff to me. So manage more by exception. Hey, you told me to go look at this, right? And check this rule, and I found something. What do you want me to do about it? That kind of thing. The second thing, having just talked to Chris earlier, I think is actually wrong. I don't think they're going to fix this one straight away. We have a lot of custom BI publisher reports to return information out of Oracle. I think right now, and maybe for the next couple of releases, the only way of getting data out will be via an API or REST call, basically. I don't think we'll be able to call those particular reports. That will be slightly limiting for us. We'll need to find some workarounds to that. And a lot of the complex workflow stuff is also coming in 25D, I think, but I think it'll be 26A by the time that's really kind of fully formed. The other thing here on sort of Excel inputs and outputs, some of this is also coming, I think, in 25D, but not fully. So in the use case we will show you, we actually need this because we would like to start a process from an Excel spreadsheet, right? At the moment, we're having to copy and paste information out of that spreadsheet and put it in the prompt. So not having to do that will be helpful. And then it will also be able to respond to you in outputs. But again, I think that's probably 26A by the time we get to that. I mean, look, there's also going to be a ton of technical limitations. I mean, the first thing is everything is being communicated via APIs, right? So if those APIs are published in external APIs, then you'll be able to call them. There are limits at the moment, I think, in terms of the data you can retrieve and send. So I think some of the DFFs, this kind of stuff, the additional fields, may be a bit of a challenge. There'll be certain data types you can't hit. And so there'll definitely be some devil in the detail there. Also in our first testing, we've definitely seen some issues with performance. Not, I think, anything out of sight. And indeed, we had exactly the same problem when we were building our own custom agents. So that will require a little bit of prompt refinement. The reality is, though, with these kind of tools, actually, there's very little control you have over that. I can't really get into the depths. I can change my prompt. I can change the way we've written that and the way we ask the AI to execute. But I can't really get into the technical bones there. And I think the last one I have here on the sort of audit logging, I think this is a really interesting poser for anyone running an audited finance system, right? So yeah, they've got more stuff coming, and I think at the moment, if I do an update via an agent, it tells me that the agent updated, it doesn't say who was triggering that agent. I think that's coming in the next release. So you'll see then a last updated by saying, user who ran agent plus it was an agent, right? So then you'll at least know what happened. There will be some more and improved logging. I couldn't tell you how good it will be. Right now it's fairly limited, if I'm honest. But then I think for a group of finance users, we've got to think, okay, so I've now got processes that are running almost semi-autonomously. Maybe some are human in a loop, making a decision. Maybe some of them are not. But how am I going to control that? How am I going to manage that? Do I then need to have another checking agent that runs off the top? Do I actually need to have someone whose job now is not so much entering the data but checking it? Am I running reports to do that? Am I sample checking? We're going to have to think about how we're going to manage that. And again, I've been doing a straw poll the last couple of days in this conference. I don't think we have the answers to this one yet, and we're going to have to figure that out over the next 6 months, a year or so. Yeah, so the question is, I mean, can you sort of run a workflow like you would do in, standard non-agentic technology, and then have another agent that checks that? I think yes, you could. I don't think many people have really built these yet, if I'm honest. But yes, I think you could do that.
And when you were saying about the challenge in terms of the process, which was, as you said, not earth-shattering, what was it you were doing, and what was the actual issue?
Right, well, so the question is, what sort of issues have we been having? Well, I think I've tried to talk about that generically there. I'll show you an example, and then you'll see one of those examples, and we can talk a bit more about that. Look, the other little thing on the bottom here is, remember, these are custom agents, and there is a cost, right? The Oracle delivered agents are free, hooray, right? As long as you don't change the, I think you're actually even able to fiddle with them slightly. There are some limitations in what, some things you'll be able to do just to tweak them. But if you change their purpose, then they're not free. You're building things new, they are not free. And the costing is number of agents. This is for the more complex agents, I guess. The number of agents that you're running times by the number of people who are using them a month, right? And that, I think, is, look, I'm not saying that cost is going to be out of sight, but it's a consideration, especially for us when we're building our business cases. And really, the business case is about taking heads out of a shared service centre in Bangalore. The reality is those guys are not particularly expensive, right? So I do need to then bear that in mind, because if I've got an agent then that I want to face off against a large set of users, then its business case will be less strong than one that faces off a few. So this we've then used as one of the key reasons why we've gone for certain specific use cases, because actually we can then face those over only a few users, which has another benefit as well, which means I can then engage only with a few people. We can test, iterate it, check it, fix it, much easier than if we're trying to do change management against a big group of people. So this is where, in short, we're then going to start. We're going to start with some quite targeted solutions, right? Because I think that will then work better from a business case and a change management perspective. So to just move on and make that a bit more real for you. So look, I mean, we have classic funnel here, but we are aware and keep a track of loads and loads of, if you like, problems, manual processes within our shared service centres or within our hubs. And we've then impact assessed those to say, well, okay, which of those have a high ticket behind them? And look, I mean, part of this is pure cost saving, but also there will be an element of control or quality advantages potentially as well in some of this, but largely about cost, I think. And then we started to think about, okay, given what we just knew about the agents, the studio, and how that works, what of those do you think will be viable to work on? And the first thing we tried to avoid is anything where we think Oracle are about to do something, right? If we think Oracle are likely to build something, I'm just going to wait, right? If I think it's a use case that is in some way unique to us, then that was where we were kind of looking to play. So let me talk about these kind of, and some of these maybe I'll break that rule slightly, but broadly. Let me talk about these use cases a little bit. On unaccounted transactions, so this would be basically, unfortunately we have such a big business, it quite regularly happens that we have changed the related value sets, disabled a cost string, and then we later realised that we had in-flight transactions in there and they got stuck. And we then have a communication process where the financial managers or some of my support team will pick those up, and then they need to be sent across to a master data team to correct that, reopen the strings basically, let it all post through, close it again. So the problem there actually is mainly one of communication, actually, because we need to take some information that's provided to one set of people and pass it down to another group, right? I think that is absolutely valid use case. We'll go after that one. The next one, this is a classic. I mean, we're in all kinds of different countries, but here we're particularly thinking about India, though it's not unique to India. There's a case where we have to go and check the tax status basically of our suppliers before we're about to pay the invoices, because if they are registered or they're in a particular status with the Indian tax authorities, the tax treatment changes, right? And therefore we might have to change the way the invoice is coded. So today our approach to do this is we literally manually check the tax portal on every single payment we're about to make, which is just full of yuck. So what we'd like to do is, grab data for those invoices we're about to pay, and then do a call out to the tax portal, pull it back, make the relevant adjustments, right? Quite an ambitious use case, I think, but I think we can do that. We have a very unique use case here, pre-approved invoice processing. We have, I don't know, I think I've encountered something quite like this in any other place I've worked. But we have this kind of list of invoices, essentially, invoice types where we do not put them through PO or through approval. So this might be things like rent payments and that kind of stuff, right? And we have a control process for managing that list. It's quite manual, it's offline. We basically want to try and integrate that into the way we manage payables. The bulk master data updates I'll come back to in a second, and then another one about trying to manage postings to control accounts. So those are the ones we selected from our list. It's our first cut. We will iterate this and evolve it through time. Okay.
If I'm understanding this correctly, you're not using these agents as things that people communicate with and talk to. Like the pre-approved invoice processing one is actually doing a task for your.
Yes, so the pre-approved invoice process there will be a workflow agent, yes. So I need to wait for 25D actually to be able to do that one. But yes, so some of these we will run through chat interface actually, but something like that we would run as a workflow.
So it would just get a list of invoices somehow, and then it would actually be able to input them into the system, process them, make the payment.
Yes.
Yeah, so they make that, exactly, and then again, we're back to control, how do we manage that and ensure quality of that process, yeah.
It's really different than a bot. So 5 years ago, I had bots in my company put in, remove users, check things out.
Yeah, so the question is, how does this differ from RPA? Well, some of it's RPA in steroids, if I'm honest, but so we have RPA, we use UiPath a fair bit. We've not done any of these through UiPath because they're too painful to develop, basically. So the simple ones, we've done some of that. And there may be a point where we actually start pulling some of those out because this is better technology for this, I think, right? But yeah, it's you can think of it as RPA and steroids. Right, so let's go to the next one. Right, so just the next use case here. So bulk master data updates. So we've built a kind of a funky process around how we manage our supplier and customer data. We get through a lot of this. It's quite a scaled business. So we've built a solution in Apex, custom code, where one by one, a user can request a change or a new supplier or customer, right? And it will then do lots of validations to make sure that the data submitted is absolutely accurate. It will then go through approvals. We will validate bank accounts, do a bunch of other control steps, and then it will push data into Oracle. Great. Works remarkably well, given its ambition. But that's a one-by-one thing. And it is pretty regular that we get asked to do bulk master data updates. I think we're getting through about 15,000 sort of bulk changes a year on supply data alone. So this might be, we decide that we're going to change the payment method or the payment term, let's say, for a chunk of suppliers in a particular country for whatever reason. And that then goes through incident, it goes to a guy in the shared service center, and they sit there and they tap away for a day or two, yeah? Which is not great. And it's also very manual, so it is prone to error as well. So what we wanted to do was have a go at this and turn this into a proper bot. So if you just go to the next one. What else? I think I've covered quite a bit of this slide, but what we wanted to do really was to run this through a prompt interface, right? And so we'll show you an example where we're just doing some supplier payment term and pay method updates and show you how that works. So let's just go straight to
Just to add to this, right, just one thing is, right, we were trying to, though there are pre-built agents which comes as part of the Agent Studio, so this is where this was very specific use case we picked it up, and especially on the prompt part of it, right, I think the other gentleman was asking about what is the difference between automation and what it can be done. So it is like actually within the Oracle product, right, it's something is provided as part of the product itself. And then we are able to utilize the value which is coming as part of the Oracle AI Agent Studio. So we started with 25C, as Simon was mentioning, certain other functionalities comes in the next subsequent releases. But this one particular thing, the prompt part of it, right, when the challenge was thrown that there are so many supply requests which are coming in for bulk master data, request to be updated, right? Whether it is your payment terms, your sites, which is coming across various systems. To avoid the duplication and making it much faster is what we call it as a DHL Suppliers AI agent, and extended the standard pre-built and built a custom agent for them with the prompt engineering, which is the demo what you will see.
So let's show it. Just run the demo. All right, so we open the bot. And then it's suggesting there a number of updates that it can make, right? So to configure that as part of the bot, and we said, right, we want to see logic suppliers in our Australia business unit. Okay, so what data do we currently have? Bot goes and thinks, and then it comes back and this says these are the supplier records that we have on there. Now we then want to update I think it's the payment terms on this. So and you can see now we're copying and pasting that out, putting it into the prompts. That was the point I said, I want to have that in Excel, right? So in a few weeks we'll be able to do it in Excel. We basically push that in text, and now the bot will go in and it will make those payment term updates and reply back and say, you can see the payment terms have changed, right? So very simple, works very well. Now, and just here we're just querying again the details again, just to again prove that that's been changed. All right. So just a very, 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 very simple use case. Obviously, it will work better if I have an Excel sheet, because then I don't have to do the copy and paste step and just throw the Excel, which was the original Rex 200 or whatever that I had, and put that into that. All right. So just very simple. Yeah. Sorry. Questions.
Yeah. Basically, this requires a lot of monitoring, right? So how does it go behind the scenes? Give you information about how this was updated to the page. Is there a stream?
Well, so I mean, so the question is, how do we sort of order this, and how do we check it? So the first thing is how are we using the agent? So you can see there we're having the agent confirm what it has changed, right? So at the time you can say I expected to change these ones, and these are the ones that I see. So I think in the way that we're going to use this particular use case, it may be different in others, right? We're just going to manage it from that way. You will, I think, from 25D see. If you looked at that particular supplier record, you will see username and agent on the last updated by. So I could then also run a report if I wanted to do another check process off the top of that to say, hey, it was this, it was done by this process, triggered by this user. Okay. Right now in 25C, has to make sure I'm in the right year. Then yes, it will only show updated by agent, right? Which is
it will show the history.
A little bit suboptimal. You had a question? Yeah, right, so can we update transactions? Let's say, yes, you've tried to use FBDI or any of the other solutions and it's not working. Yes, I mean, again, if it's publish API, so all of the standard transactions in finance, all the invoices, requisitions, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yes, it will be feasibly possible to do that, definitely. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, also questions about more for apps. So there's some guys on the floor that provide some specific solutions to do some of these things. And again, it's another option. You can go and buy that from them. There's a cost associated. We actually looked at it for a volume use case that we had, and it was quite expensive against a lot of users. So yeah, this could be a cheaper and simpler way to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
So the purely custom agent, or you could copy something from the
This is pure custom.
But within the AI agent studio.
built
Yes.
within the AI Agent Studio.
Nothing.
No. And it's all built natural language. If you've seen the demos, it is literally just a natural language prompt, okay? There's no coding in there at all. It is literally you're just essentially saying what I want to happen in sort of, if you like, pseudo logic, right? You know, and putting in the relevant hints about what you want the output to do, what you want it to avoid, this kind of thing. And that's the art, right? Is when you if you start to find it not doing the right things, is to try and tune that prompt to do exactly what you want and avoid any issues. Sorry, you had a question?
Does it use a native solution behind the scenes?
Yeah, how is it making this update? It's calling an API, right? So and that's the one bit which is almost code, because you're actually specifying the REST endpoint that it has to hit, and you can even put in a payload. So actually some of my more technical people would prefer that, because actually then means that you're much more precise on what you're telling the bot to do. But yes, it's all going in through the REST APIs basically.
Anything specific you did for the table format? Because what I've seen previously was that mostly the chat prompt is mostly text coming out. I mean, we're starting to become format.
Yeah. So at the moment, the question was about format of output. So here you can see we've done an HTML format, which is nice. So for 10, 20 records, that's okay. If we'd have put 300 in there, you're scrolling a bit, aren't you, right? So that's not so ideal. So again, I think what is coming, I'm not sure which version, it might be 26A.
26A
Yeah.
is what,
Yeah, then there will be the ability to output that as, let's say, an Excel file or in a specified format. And again, you can put that in the prompt, say, I would like, if more than 100 records, please output this to me in Excel or something, right?
How are you protecting from malicious commands like brown or deletes?
Could you say that again, sorry?
How is it protected from issuing accidental deletes or drops?
Well, drops, we'll basically in the prompt, you will say, can't do that, right? You will say, I don't want to achieve that. I mean, I think table drops through the APIs actually, I mean, I don't think you can do that in most cases. That I'd have to check.
Where are you building those guards?
Well, you build it in the prompts. Yeah, but also the APIs themselves will manage certain things, so you can't do really stupid things. I mean, the other thing just to remember, because I probably hadn't mentioned this as well, is of course this is all working off the user security as well. So if the particular user is only able, in this case, to look at the Australia business unit to make the master data changes there, then that is all they can do. They can't change Thailand. Okay? Yeah. So the question is, how do we make the external auditors comfortable? It's a good question. Let me know when you found the answer. I mean, look, I don't think any of us have approached our external auditors on this stuff. I mean, I had a debate yesterday with somebody about this and how we should approach. Actually, the feeling was probably best to be proactive with them and say, hey, we're going to do this stuff. This is our procedure around it. This is the way we're going to control it, rather than them finding it out during the audit and then dinging us for it. I think that would be bad news. But it's certainly how we manage these processes is, it's going to require some thought, right? No question. We haven't tried to update bank accounts through this, but I think you could, in theory. I mean, again, when we come back to controls, that's another area where I would be very, very careful, right? So we have quite a lot of control about the way we manage bank accounts, make sure we've got 4 eyes over that kind of thing and so on. So, yeah, I mean, we're in a slightly more dangerous territory with that one, I think.
You have to be a Redwood for this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes, latest version of SaaS, yeah. All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Simon. I think it was a very good. Redwood. So you have to be in Redwood enabled, right? To implement the AI Agent Studio framework.
Well, look, this isn't the latest. I mean, to put it simply, if you're on the latest version of Oracle SaaS, you have this.
You will have this. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Simon. Very interactive. As a follow-up, right? Just if you look at it, these are some of the other agents we are building. So how the sequence goes is like DHL came up. We are an existing partner for them. They had a challenge on a particular use case. So we build the use cases, pick up the use cases, and we have started to work with them to collaboratively develop this. We are put in the environment as an early adopter. So as a level 4 partner, we have close to 25 years of relationship with Oracle. We are a level 4 partner with them. We got an early access to the Agent Studio framework. We had close to around 200 plus people trained on that, certified in the Agent Studio. And then as part of the product, you get pre-built agents, which comes from 25C, which is what I think you asked in the beginning, right? Then this was a custom specific agent we built for them, but it was simple prompt engineering, no code behind the scenes. And then we started working with some of our other customers globally, picked up what are the specific use cases to start with a small size of people, the payables processor, what you see here, or whether it is the intelligent supplier payment attributes update. So these are specific use cases which we have built for the customer. The other next step to us is, yesterday you would have seen Oracle announce that we are present in the Oracle marketplace. So what we did was, it's not that commercializing how we will do this, but we collaboratively partnered with Oracle. We have put some of the agents in the marketplace, so customers can, who are not even Wipro customers, can look into it, download from the marketplace, see how the agents are there. Obviously, there's an extension to everything. So definitely there will be a contact established. So the way we are approaching the market is through two medias. One is through the marketplace, where we are deploying our agents, put it in the Oracle marketplace. Second is working with specific customers of us and start building. But obviously, we will take it to a much larger customer pool of people.
I have a question here, right? I see that you have a payables agent here, right?
Yeah.
But still finance is not on Redwood.
No, we have to enable it to Redwood. So some of the customers, in the sense that these are POCs which are done in the development environment. POCs. Yes.
It's going to be next.
Next.
Right?
Correct.
So if you build a POC for AP, totally custom, outside of Oracle, I mean, integrated access. I was just curious.
No. These are like, see how thing is like, this is like 25C now we'll put it in the marketplace. This will be available to the customers from 25D. That's what Oracle has said, right? So that's a sequence of activities which are happening. In fact, the bulk processing, right, the question you asked, right, they are saying from 26A or whatever, right, that will happen there. But we are excited to be the early adopters because this is an area which goes beyond, user experience. We look at A for change and A for deliver. And just the last 1 minute on what competency-wise, I think we are having close to around 17,000 plus people certified, right? Certifications in the Oracle space. Specific to AI, around 3,490 certifications cutting across the OCI, GenAI space. And we continue to get our people trained and working with the global customers like DHL, implementing and infusing AI in the landscape. So that's a quick.
Is there a demo we can see any place actually after going back from here to start curiosity, like all the agents you talked about? I'd love to see a demo actually, where we can log in and check it out, right? I think that gives a better idea and then engage,
I mean, if I was, so the question is there a demo that you can log into? I'm not sure. Where I would go first is that Oracle have a training course for AI Studio that is free and available. You can do that certification in a couple of hours. I've done it.
Yes.
That's what I would go and do first, right? That's the best way to get started with this.
So I want to see these agents in action.
Exactly.
That's what people want to see. Once you see it, you believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, looking into God, this is fairly straightforward stuff, and we've had guys who've literally some of them have done the training course, some of them haven't at all, and in a couple of hours they're able to create a working agent. It is not particularly complex, right? So I think do that training course, get in, get trying it.
I think it's not about implementing, it's about seeing what others have done. I mean, I can just get a training and get it, implement an agent, but I want to see what others have done next. How far they have gone, right? That's I think the question is.
Yeah, but I mean, some of this technology came out for finance only a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're a little early to understand what others have done in terms of use cases, but. You will be able to use AI Studio in the current 25C version of Oracle, right? So you can do this now.
No.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some places where Redwood will have some impact because you're trying to use specific screens or whatever, but you can use this right now. Okay.
So we have to be very selective on the use cases, right? That's where we are picked it up whether in HCM or finance, work on certain things. As someone said, it just off the books, right, from last 4 to 6 weeks is what's been really coming in. But again, going back to his question of where I can see, right, marketplace is one place where you can see what everybody has done. But as a logical next step, obviously you may have to reach out, right, for some demonstrations. Till the time we are able to put our demos public and then look at it. But obviously every other partners will be happy to showcase what we have done with others. because that's where you'll get a broader experience of what is happening in the market, right? And last but not the least, but AI is everything today, right? But AI is in the data, and how we are able to make much better user experience, and not just looking at the RPA automation, which used to be there, right? But how we really take the power of AI and not just use a bot or a workflow, right? How it really helps on a day-to-day next generation. Yeah.
What about publishing these agents actually in the future? Because as you see, there are a lot of enterprise, a lot of applications, right? They want to communicate. One of the things we are dealing with is that, we want these agents to communicate actually, right? And I don't know, I've heard of MCP, agent to agent.
Yes.
You guys are being,
Yes.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. So how do we publish them? How do we manage agents? How freestyle do we want to go? Well, for the moment, we are building these with my technical teams, with my IT teams, not coders, but my functional people are building these, with Wipro's help. I think that's where we're going to start with this, because otherwise we could get into a position where 15 people have built the same agent broadly, but they work slightly differently, and then we get confused because we're all trying to follow the same process, but actually it's not available. There are also some things that still need to be done, I think, from Oracle about how we actually sort of publish those across environments technically, rather than having to copy and paste it each time and submit that across a wide set of users. But we will try and build this as part, like we'll treat it basically like any change to the system. We actually also build all reports as well. We could let users build reports, but we don't. We've taken all of that into the IT team, put a request for change off the top of it. It's very controlled, maybe a little bit, non-agile, but we think that will end up with a better answer than if we just let free rein. I think on this, we could end up with quite a lot of inconsistency. And how do we? Again, we're in an audited environment. How are we going to control that and make sure that this guy's agent's the same as this lady's agent? I don't know.
But
one more question I have. I think what you brought up was an interesting point here is that you were saying you give access to your functional team to all of these agents, right? So the question that would just come out of my team is that who should be developing these agents, functional or technical, right? So what skill set do you need? I mean, you need someone who can think logically and who understands the business process. That's what you need. For me, that sits in my sort of functional configurator team broadly. Techno-functional people, yes, as well. I am going to get some of my developers to do it. Now, some of them will need to think a little bit on business side than they currently do. We were talking to Oracle yesterday. They actually have gone a slightly different route, and they've got some people who are quite savvy within the finance teams themselves. There are only a few who've got these kind of savvies, but they're having them build them because then they're close to the business process, right? And I can see that working as well. But you need that. You need somehow to join, logical thinking with business process. And maybe you can get that in one person. Maybe you need to join a couple of people together to do that. But however that works for your organisation.
Yeah. I think we are good, and only just extension of the agent to agent, what you are mentioning, right? That is very important, and that's where at an organization level, right? While obviously Oracle, the Agent Studio is the focus from the Oracle practice, but we have launched something called Vega, which is Wipro Enterprise Generative AI, a much larger overall AI initiative where we work with a much larger AI ecosystem, right? Bringing in specific industry solutions, AI for industries specific, right? It could be in utilities or a retailer, how it can work. And with all the OpenAI, NVIDIA, Oracle collaboration, we work very closely with the NVIDIA team too to get the compute part. So what we have been talking, the apps part of it, there's a much larger infra play, right, with OCI, NVIDIA stuff, and the GPU chips working together, right? So future is like we need to guardrail, have the security done, but holistically look at how the apps and the infra will speak together.
Security is going to be the biggest thing agent to agent actually.
Yes.
That's one of the concerns, we feel we have to see how people are going to
Yes.
implement that actually.
Right.
Yeah, but then again, start small, right?
Yes.
Start with small use cases. Get to understand how you're going to deploy this stuff. What checks you're going to do, how you're going to control it, how you're going to manage it, what works well, what doesn't. Let's worry about really funky solutions where we're joining finance and HR and all kinds of other agents together later, I would say. Right. Okay. Great. Yeah. Go on. Yeah. So again, the question about security, it follows the security model of the user. who's calling the agent. So that is really helpful because it will simplify all this, and you don't need to worry, right?
Same.
Yeah, same point. Yes. Okay. Any final
Any
questions?
final questions?
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for the interaction. That was much more fun than some
Yeah.
sessions.